some words for you. And I thank you if you'll listen. I wrote both these pieces before this flat Earth stuff started happening. So at least 3 years ago, I wrote these two pieces. Just some weird stuff. Okay. So the whole world is driven by this pyramidal system. From family heads to heads of state, head teachers to head doctors, even money, property, food, everything has this way of using a pyramid structure. It's not that I think this is the wrong way to do things, but that this system has been abused thoroughly. It's time for a new way of doing things. With the advent of the internet, the once endless world has suddenly become a much smaller place, and everyone is watching everyone. Like it or not, this is not the future. This is the now. I say, before someone has a chance to abuse any of us any further, we take over this new world order of the they, NATO, Illuminati, whoever, whatever. I say we, the people of the net, the people of this tiny speck in the vastness of space, and try to change things ourselves. The governments are failing, but I believe with all my mind, my heart, that most people on this beautiful planet want pretty much, the same things. They ain't much: food, shelter, a safe environment for our children and our elderly. Everything, everything I say, everything else is a bonus, and nothing else. There is more than enough space, if used wisely. There is enough food, if used wisely. There is a way, if we use wisdom. I'm not trying to put forward a definitive idea, the only way to do things. This is a suggestion that needs to get the ball rolling. I'd like to start as big as possible, but I would settle for the United Kingdom to lead the way. Although I disagree with atoning for our grandparents' sins against the rest of the world during the Empire days and such, but I do believe the UK, although barely listened to by the bigger nations, we still carry some weight with our actions and behaviour. We need that to lead the way. We need a change, and we must do it ourselves. There is more on that piece, but I will stop there. And just very quickly, I'm going to insert this here. I'm not sure if you can see the title. Time to flatten the pyramid. Weird. About a minute or so, I will read you another piece. It will be longer. I think people need to learn to listen, no? People hear the words. There's not many people can make sense of what's being said sometimes. And what's being said isn't always what's meant. And this is not right. So, look, anyway, this is my green book. I just do lots of scribbles. I use a green pen. I have a little bit longer piece to read now. And again, both of these were written before this flat earth thing exploded. I'd like to read you some of my poetry at some point, without visuals, so that people will listen. Perhaps by listening, people will learn to see again. I'm a writer, you know. I'm not an author. I've written a couple of books, but not published. But I like to write. I like to write my thoughts down, my ramblings, my ideas. But I never know what to do with them. I have no one to share them with, so I'm going to share them with you lot. If you don't want to listen, go somewhere else, find something else to do. I like to listen, and I'd like to listen to more people. And I'd like to inspire people to write and say things better than me. I'd like to listen to as many as I can. I like listening, weird as I am. Okay. We begin. This is not a linear story. Once upon a time, happily ever after. This is a book, a piece of writing about life. My own, yours, theirs, and everybody else as I see it. Not as you see it or think of it, nor is it the sum total of all my thoughts about it. This is not a book about the truth, whatever that is, but it does hold some truths in it. This is not even about all the lies everybody tells, though we all know there are plenty of lies floating about these days. It is not a history book, although it is about our collective past. It is not a horror story, though hopefully some parts will scare the pants off you. Neither is it a fairy tale, despite the magical sounding nature of some of it. It is about religion, sort of, but but not from a scholarly or religious or political viewpoint, but from my viewpoint, biased though it is. I hope it offends you. I hope it doesn't cause you to wish me harm, or those closest to me, but I do hope it gives you pause for thought. Do you understand that? I want to shock you into realizing that all people having their own opinions is a good thing, the best thing. God, with all his many names, whichever the true one is, evolution or the aliens could ever give to us the ability to express one's opinion, is the fact that if you stop to think about it for just a few minutes at the least, you would realize not only how important, but ultimately how useless this tool is. For a tool it is, despite it being an intangible thing. My opinion can get me many things, from what I really want to said punch in the mouth from the man I just offended. Without it, I would be a big dumb animal, hunting super fast squirrels, eating shit fruit and shittier nuts. It was my ancestors' opinion, and yours, that there is a better way. Your ancestors' opinion may not have been the same as my ancestors, but both were important and generationally changing for the better. If you disagree, good for you. If you don't believe you have it better than the ones who had it first, that's up to you. That's life. That's freedom. You think what you want. If you don't believe that when man first discovered fire, there wasn't one who thought, a source of warmth for me and mine, and another thought, aha, a way to defend myself and my own, and yet another thought, ah, a way to beat that fat bastard with all the food. Good for you. This is not a truth I am trying to teach you. It is an opinion I have of something profound that once happened. This is not a coherent, ordered book made to a strict layout of paragraphs and subjects. It is my thoughts as they present themselves. Those thoughts I vaguely remember that I wish I had writ down when I had them. It is a much slower, less personal way of telling as many people as possible that it is time to stop. To actually stop and think about just what is going on in the world right now. What has gone on before, and what lies in the future for all of us. I cannot start this book at the beginning, for I have no idea how it all started. Neither will there be a happy ending nor a sad one, for I know them not. There is no end, because by the time I have finished writing this book, many of my opinions, and hopefully yours, will have changed, as it should be. The reason I am writing this book, poor grammar, lack of structure, and probably ill-informed information, for which I am liable to be sued, shot, or ignored, is because I am pissed off that I am so ill-informed, angry that I can't string a sentence together in the way that I would really like to, fucking livid that a whole way of life is a lie, a great big fucking lie, one after another. There is a truth, I would reveal it to you, shocking and unbefucking believable as it is. They told me to go to school, to work hard, and the world was my oyster. What a load of bollocks. Does my language offend you? Good. I'll tell you one thing that offends me. The fact that the English that I studied at school is the same English my teenage children are studying now, 20 years later. And that in turn we have followed my mum and dad's English from 40 years ago. We have all been studying works of English 50 years out of date, when my parents studied it. Since those books we study at school were first printed, millions of different books have been written, published and printed. I know, I've read a few of them. Why are we still studying out-of-date, irrelevant, boring crap that interests nobody but a few? Oh, but if we don't teach Shakespeare, nobody will remember that he gave us the English language. Bollocks. I learnt more about Shakespeare from Doctor fucking Who than I ever did from studying Romeo and Juliet 3 poxy times. I enjoy Shakespeare far more as an adult than I ever did as a child. English is a wide and varied, ever-changing, ever-adapting language that should be taught with passion and care, not by rote and order. English should be taught by people who have a real love of and for books, newspapers, blogs, writing in general, not by someone who needs a job, not by a standard structure that is far too rigid. English should be taught with all tools available, with the full passion of a particular genre or genres. I would be more than happy for the 5 teachers who teach English to my children to show them the vast number of authors, subjects, types of books, and that they themselves hold a passion for romance, for fantasy, factual, fiction, historical or futuristic, whatever, and they will teach them about 1 or 2 books from their genre, for the child to choose 1 of their or 2 of their own choice, and 1 or 2 of the classics, Dickens and Bronte, etc., and that for the next 5 years they will study these books in all their aspects. For those children who would struggle with this, your parents, your primary school, your government failed you. English may seem an odd place to start. It wasn't a conscious decision. I'm trying to go with the flow. I'll let you know if you can't guess when it happens where I was going to start. But English is something I think about a lot. Of course, English is my native language, but that is not quite what I meant. English, the subject, taught in schools, constantly floats around in my brain. I love English. I love stories and books, and have done for as long as I can remember. Beano, Asterix, Spot, Mega Mog, Janet and Alan Alberg, Roald Dahl, Willie the fucking Wimp, Willie the fucking Champ, Where's Wally, for crying out loud? My thoughts go back to the way English was taught to me, how I recognised then what was wrong, knew then as I do now, not what or even how to go about changing it. My first story, written under the age of 10, and perhaps still in my mum's keepsake box, was short, weird, and has stuck in my mind ever since. I will tell you it here briefly, and don't worry. I'd like all of you to understand something before you do. It won't take long. This whole book will be filled with quotes, sayings, and other people's words, copyrighted and, as I understand, only allowed to be used if I ask or give quotes. Well, go fuck yourselves, alright? If you believe you own a particular order of words, go fuck yourself. A particular order of words, my goodness. The small tale I would tell you is for anyone out there to take and improve or destroy. I don't care. But I will lay no claim to it, other than that I actually came up with it first. I am pretty sure that this next quote will try to convey a small part of what this is all about. I truly hope this book does nothing other than inspire one person to take and improve upon my ideas, to correct me where I am wrong, to present a stronger argument when necessary, to stop and think for a short while about what it is all really about. Of course, I'd like to make some money, wouldn't we all? But every day I think of this stuff, the less important, the less attractive this elusive substance becomes. My tale, freely given. A group of children, all under teenage years, are exploring a forbidden area, somewhere dark and overgrown, when, as a group, they fall through a hole in the ground. Unbeknown to them, in my mind and theirs, they have fallen through the weakened roof of a buried double-decker bus. They have no idea what it is, and I don't really remember the why of it. Perhaps it's set in the future. But the story ended as the English lesson did, abruptly. As the battered group stumble about in the darkness, they find a deeper darkness, a stairway leading down. I have the proof of this story somewhere, as I said. A hastily finished scrawl with the roughest of pictures. Why am I telling you this? To show you that I do love English. I own more than 1,000 books, bought and paid for, given as gifts, ranging from James Herbert's The Rats to Michio Kaku's Parallel Universe. A copy of 50 Shades of Grey, Belle de Jour, 2 copies of Watership Down, 2 of the full works of Sherlock Holmes, including the latest Anthony Horowitz' excellent new adventure. I have encyclopedias, atlases, a Bible, French and German dictionaries. Richard Dawkins sits alongside a book by Graham Hancock, both next to a book of Psalms. Terry Pratchett's Trucker series, Brian Jacks' Animal Fantasies, Lord of the Rings in its many formats. Book on the most notorious men in history, to a fantastical guide to fantasy by the brilliant Diane Wynne-Jones. I assure you, I have read them all. It has taken 30 years. But weekly, I am reading a new book or 3, and I love it. The escapism, the realism, the thought-provoking bullshit scattered throughout all of them. Ha! You think I mentioned a lot of books and authors? I didn't even mention my favourites yet. They will get their own section, and for reasons other than English. I am fair at English, no more, no less. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise, either way. But my education did me a disservice. Sorry, Mum, Dad, and my other dad, you too. Even I, as I assure I knew at the time, I did myself a disservice. For another time, I might tell the full story, but know that I went to secondary school without a single friend from primary school. It was both scary and exciting, but the most pressing memory of feeling was one of fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of the alone, fear of the 1 hour to 1.5 hour journey to and from school for 5 years. I even moved in that time an equal distance on the opposite side of the school. But that fear was always buried under a schedule of busyness and learning, much travelling, and I'm afraid to say a dysfunctional family. I had no less than 5 English teachers throughout my time at secondary school. I won't name them, for I no longer solely blame them for the disservice performed upon me. Twice my first English teacher left to have a baby, followed by supply teachers, one of whom took on a permanent position where she taught us for just under a year before moving to another classroom. The first teacher came and went again, and the second time, and we had more supply teachers, followed by a lazy ass teacher who I then believed to be cool, because he let us sit around and wasn't too interested in how well or bad we did. Looking back, I see now the resignation and loss of pleasure for teaching that masked this gentle man's smiling face. He was cool. He did enjoy talking to us, but he did not enjoy teaching the same old shit. I know that now. Mr. Cool was not moved. I made a decision, which I kind of regret, but wouldn't have changed the outcome. In my final year, I chose to change from one form tutor to another, thinking I would get a better teacher maybe. I don't know, wishful thinking now, I think. The point is, in this year, my final year, like they had with maths beforehand, they decided to change the way English was taught. Despite changing tutors, had I stayed in my original Form B, I would still have ended up with the teacher who I wanted, but not with my new Form A. They separated the forms into ability, smart with smart, stupid with stupid. How wrong is that? In the last 3 years, I studied Romeo and Juliet each year. I studied an Inspector Calls each year. I studied Of Mice and Men each year. I studied Wilfred Owen war poems for the last 2 years. I tell you now, as I told them then, they bored the shit out of me. Believe it or not, I failed English pretty much, both literature and language, and attained a double E grade GCSE. Believe it or not, I went to college to try and retake English, both lit and language. And I don't care if you think I'm bullshitting, they tried once again to make me study not only these books again. I had to study some piece called The Vendetta. I had no appreciation for these works of literature at all back then as a teenager. I hope and believe, not many do, that these books are not for everyone and shouldn't be forced upon anyone. Children should be encouraged to read as wide a range of books as possible. They should be free to choose whether they wish to take a deeper, more in-depth look at the history of the English language. I was given that freedom at home. I was forced to learn the rest. Let me tell you something ironic. I studied French GCSE and attained my only A grade. I can barely speak a word of it now. I did only have 2 teachers throughout the time at school. The second, when they changed the way lessons and subjects were taught. I even went to France a couple of times with the school. I honestly can't say or blame my school for everything I don't know, but I can see the correlation between stability and a bit of freedom and a good grade, and the obvious contrast of a poor grade in a subject that was taught frigidly but fractally. Not quite sure what I meant. French was hard, but it was fun. English was boring and long. Yet I did and do like English. I've been trying to write fictional books all my adult and my teenage and my child life. I have the pencil and paper proof of it. I remember my teacher from primary school commenting to my parent, my mum, on parents' evening, how much I seemed to enjoy writing stories. And I remember being shy and evasive about it, and no one pressing it. A quick aside, I also remember the parents of a friend telling another parent, dad this time, that she remembers me having a talent and liking for science. I remember behaving the same way. What, me? Nah, not me, I ain't good at that stuff. She was a lovely lady, bubbly and round with a beautiful laugh that I can still remember more than her face. I truly believe, as I will explain more later, that if these things had been picked up on as a younger person, both by my teachers, three parents, maybe myself, and if I had been encouraged, rather than forced, to learn a more in-depth aspect of both subjects, rather than a wide range of little bits of bullshit from all subjects, I would now this day be a teacher or a continual studier of either English or science, as opposed to the pothead bum, unemployed for more than a decade loser I have become. I don't tell you this in such a way to make you feel sorry for me. I don't really want you to be angry with me for something I said or wrote or thought. I truly don't care either way. I have my life and I'm happy with it, even if others ain't. It's not their life, it's mine. I have three beautiful sons, and I'm confident they love me. I know I love them. This is a truth. I have the most beautiful lady in the world looking after me, a goddess who bows to my every unspoken wish, a black tan and white sheep that stands apart from the crowd, the one everyone else. That. She is wonderful and far too caring for my liking, though this is neither a criticism nor a fault-picking in her, but in me and everyone else around me who is neither as caring or concerned with others before herself as she is. I have never met a less selfish, yet almost totally brainwashed, as the rest of you are, person who is still able to retain a shred of compassion and caring for just about everyone, for everyone who has done her wrong. This book is all about these, the most important people, objects both material and ethereal to me in the whole entire universe, or whatever. They are my truth. I want to continue, but I seem to be rambling in my words now. And to be honest, I just wanted to try out my headphones. I shall read some more if people like what I've read so far. Thank you for listening. Peace and luck to you all.